Roselle complains that some dude called Florin from the Sauron family wanted him to become his lackey, and Roselle was like, "The fuck, dude? Do I look like a third grade lackey to you? The fuck, man? I'll drag you down from your high horse, you little shit, even if you are saying some very interesting things worth pondering over." Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Art and Recap. I'm your artist Faye, and today we are reading chapter 261 till 265 of Lord of the Mysteries. In the previous chapter, Klein and Miss Bodyguard go inside a noble's mysterious basement where snakes rain down on them, and they found themselves in a hallway with 7 rooms. They entered one room and found a statue that depicted the Evernight goddess in all of her veiled glory. Klein heads out of the room and with his cane and lantern held in the same hand so that he can use his other hand to get his charms and weapon if anything dangerous ever happened, like more snakes raining down on them. The next door that he approached had the engravings of a baby surrounded by wheat and flowers and water. It was the sacred emblem of Earth Mother. Miss Bodyguard confirmed that it was indeed that emblem, and you know what? Whenever she's described, it's often followed with a sentence about her black gothic regal dress. Like, why is that? Why is Cuttlefish pointing that out all this goddamn time? Like, you know what? Okay, girl, you are absolutely slaying it with that gothic Lolita dress, but seriously, why is Cuttlefish pointing it out so much? Klein doesn't necessarily describe or think about other characters' fashion sense this often, and usually he'd think about it maybe once or twice, and if he feels like he'll make fun of that character, maybe, he'll mention it again in his mind, but never like this. So, what gives, Cuttlefish? Do you really like her fashion sense? What's up with this? Klein and Miss Bodyguard enter the room, and Klein notes that its layout is similar to the Evernight Goddess's room. However, on the platform in the middle of the room wasn't a statue of a veiled goddess. It was instead that of a beautiful plump lady with ears of wet growing from her feet and a dress embedded with different herbs and flowers. And in her arms was an infant that was swaddled in clothes, like, it's wrapped around like a potato. Anyway, Klein guesses that this is the statue of Earth Mother. Klein and Miss Bodyguard continued to check the other 4 rooms, and they all depicted the orthodox gods in human forms aside from the god of steam and machinery, but that's because that guy got a rebrand thanks to Roselle, if I remember correctly. Klein finds all of this extremely strange and wonders how the church could allow their gods to live in the same structure as other gods, and wonders if it's a custom that only existed in the 4th epoch. He thinks that those statues, even if they don't look evil like the primordial demoness and the true creator statues, they still give off weird vibes, and he also wondered why the depictions of those gods changed into that of abstract symbols into today's era. And if it was possible that someone who is part of the Tudor family purposely created statues of the 6 deities for a reason, like are they blaspheming? Klein was reminded of an item he read from a novel in his previous life called Six Soul Banner, and I'm wondering if this is a famous novel in China for Cuttlefish to just name drop it, or if it's actually a story that he wrote about, like maybe one of his first stories that I don't know, because apparently Lord of the Mysteries is like his second story, I think, or third. Yeah, he has a previous work apparently. Miss Bodyguard and Klein continued their exploration until they stopped because of a roadblock. The road ahead was blocked by boulders and dirt, but on the left and right side were 2 stone doors that looks the same as the one in the main hall. The right side was slightly open but was filled with mud and stone. Miss Bodyguard floated ahead and stuck her head inside the huge rock because, she can't, she's a spirit. She fuses into the rock and then disappears. Klein waits patiently for her to come back, and when she did, she told him that it's completely collapsed. We cannot go on through this road. They turned their attention to the left door that was open slightly, and Klein used his spirit vision to peek inside the room and discovered that there are at least 4 powerful spiritual lights inside, 2 dark gold and 2 dark blue. Klein thinks that they might be condensed beyond their characteristics and mystical items, so that means there's at least like two Beyonders that dropped there, like they dropped dead. Yeah, I was gonna say drop loot, but my mouth said drop there, and was like, you know what? Let's just say that they dropped dead over there, because that's also a fact. They died over there. Klein continues to peek around the room, and he saw that there was a wall with a bloody pair of double doors. There were remnants of fresh blood on it, and he wanted Miss Bodyguard to scout the area ahead when he felt Azek's copper whistle become ice cold. His right forearm was numb and itchy and began to swell. Because of that, he took out a tarot card and slashed it across his arm. What came out wasn't blood, but tiny black screaming worms, and ew! That's so gross, but also low-key reminded me of Leonard from the Donghua scene, where he was fighting Trissy, so I guess Klein was getting cursed right now. The worms fell to the ground and turned into smoke, black smoke, right? And he waited for a second until all of the worms disappeared, and then turned his attention to Miss Bodyguard, who was looking at him with like furrowed eyes, like she's so confused during that, but you can feel from her vibes, like, because she needs to protect Klein. She's also wondering like who could have cursed Klein to, be spewing worms out of his wound. Then Klein's eyes landed on Miss Bodyguard's shadow, right? Because he started feeling Mr. Asik's whistle. It became colder, which is weird. So he looks at Miss Bodyguard's shadow, and Miss Bodyguard, she was a floating spirit. Miss Bodyguard, who never had a shadow to begin with. And Klein was like, fuck. He yelled at her to run as the dark shadow tried to engulf them both. Klein barely managed to get through the door, but he did, and the shadow vanished. Miss Bodyguard said that was definitely an evil spirit that was out to get us. And Klein thinks that it might be bound or imprisoned in that room because it could not go out after he, crossed the border, basically. And it also explained why the whistle was acting up. Klein turned to Miss Bodyguard and was like, yeah, let's go back. He didn't want to deal with that evil spirit that Mr. Asik's whistle warned him about, because that spirit was most likely about the same level as Rosago or Chilancos, and it's probably been roaming around that room for ages, and Klein was reminding himself that he shouldn't be greedy because of the Beyonder characteristics or mystical item that was lying around in that room for God knows how long. And Klein also was like, I'm not getting paid for this shit. I didn't get paid to actually fight some evil spirit that may or may not kill me and Miss Bodyguard, Miss Bodyguard asked Klein what happens next, and at first Klein said that he'll tell his client to call the cops, but then he backtracked because they might fuck some shit up and accidentally release that evil spirit, and then said that thanks to the corpses that they've seen, he can deduce that there were explorers before them and they dropped some loot. Again, about that, the Beyonder characteristics that he saw in that room. Also, he might blow up the area so that people won't be able to disturb the spirit. That was his plan. Miss Bodyguard asked him why he hasn't considered getting people to exorcise the evil spirit instead. Klein said that it's way too risky and that his life and health comes first. Not to mention, the most powerful person that he knows right now is Miss Bodyguard, and from what he can tell and what he saw earlier, she's no match for that spirit either. So the ghost lady looks at him in deep contemplation and said that he still have some common sense after all, cause again, she thinks that he'd gone batshit crazy thanks to using the language of foulness, right? Anyway, Klein heads over to the ground floor, and that's where he met his client, who asked him how it went. Klein was like, bruh, it was absolutely horrible down there. I got rained on by a bunch of snakes. Don't let anyone down or they'll die of poison, dude. And the guy was like, oh my god, okay. What if the snake slithers out? Like, how does he know any experts who can get rid of those snakes? Because, oh my god, I don't want my family to get bitten by snakes or the workers, And Klein tells him that he does know some people, but because it's autumn, the snakes aren't going to be moving around much anyway because of the cold, so it's best not to disturb them until he comes back with, the experts to get rid of the snakes. Millet relaxed a little and urged Klein to come back quickly with his helpers and that he'll prevent the people from entering the basement. Klein then tells him that he needs some info from him and asks who owned the house before. The guy said that it belonged to a viscount called Pound Town. Klein asked what he knows about the family, but Millet didn't know much aside from the fact that they won their aristocratic title in the Battle of the Violated Oath, and after decades of enjoying nobility, the family kept losing their heirs until the last heir they have was a distant relative who eventually squandered the family fortune and was demoted into a baronet. The battle that he talked about was something that began during the Fifth Epoch and was a war that involved religion. It's explained that the southern Potter kingdom originally believed in both the Earth Mother and the God of Knowledge and Wisdom, but their believers often butted heads, and a war started in the name of protecting freedom of religion until the Church of Earth Mother became the only religion in Potter. Klein then asked if Millet knew where the Baronet Pounds lives, and Millet said he doesn't really know. Afterwards, Klein went back home and did his evening routine before divining if he should go to the police about this and got a negative answer. Klein went to sleep and suddenly realized he was dreaming. He thinks someone was invading his dreams as he looked around the scorching yellow desert he found himself in. A roar came from the sky and a huge black and gold monster flew over. The creature was very lizard-like with a pair of wide wings on its back, and Klein realized that he's looking at a freaking dragon. The dragon spat out a laser from its mouth and obliterated the desert. A figure who was about 4 meters tall jumped into the air. Klein noticed that he had a handsome young face but didn't have the vertical eyes that was unique to giants. The giant knight fought the dragon until it was felled. Then the scene changed and Klein stood in front of a huge bloody door. It was the same door Klein saw in the ancient structure. A man of normal height sat on the chair that he was looking at before. He looked like the dragon slayer except he was no longer a giant. The man looked up and made eye contact with Klein and that jolted him awake from his dream. I think that this man might actually be the evil spirit haunting that structure. Or maybe the dragon is actually the evil spirit, who knows. But actually, you know what? Looking back at this, the description of the dragon being black and gold made me realize that this is a dream and this is a dream symbolism. So technically, this black and gold dragon can actually symbolize Klein. Because again, remember that Klein, the fool saying, what do you call this again? His epitaph, is like the god of luck with black and gold mixed in, right? So I was like, wait, is this Klein? Is this supposed to be Klein? Or because the yellow in Klein's some black and yellow thing, right? Technically, could also be considered black and gold, right? Right? I don't know, man. I'm just theorizing here. Anyway, Klein was like, well, that was a weird as fuck dream, but he doesn't dismiss it and just puts it at the back of his mind. He went to his full body mirror and said that he dreamed of a bloody stained door in that room, and his bodyguard appeared and said that it must be the influence of the evil spirit's aura and that it'll weaken as time goes by, so don't worry about it. Klein nods his head and went back to sleep after reporting his dreams to her. As usual, Klein was reading the newspaper while having breakfast. Something that Klein took note of is that the Civil Servant Unified Examination Bill has been officially passed and the first exam will be held in early December. It was the exam that Klein urged Benson to study for in the first book and the one that he low-key manipulated Audrey into putting the idea into her father's head. The thought of Benson had him also wondering about Melissa and how they're doing. He's confident that Benson will pass the examination as long as he takes the exam that isn't geared to higher nobility. Apropos Benson, we actually get a little bit of his POV in this chapter. He was also reading the newspaper and was surprised that the bill passed. He's happy about the news, but most importantly, he's more excited about the news that Polytechnic that the Bacloon Polytechnic of Technology will become a university and that Melissa can actually apply there. Melissa isn't sure about all of that, especially with the cost of the tuition. Benson tells her not to worry too much about that since they're still young and the money that they receive due to Klein's death could help them maintain their current lifestyles without working. They don't have to be like that though, and that a change in the environment might be actually really good for them. After all, the house that they're still living in is the one that Klein paid for and have a lot of fond memories with him in it. Melissa asks what would happen to Bella, the maid servant that they hired before Klein's death. There's still a few more months before they can leave for Backlund, and Bella will have enough time to find a new employer then. Now that she can cook, she'd definitely be in higher demand. So anyways, it seems like the two of them are going to Backlund in the future, and I'm wondering if they're going to meet Klein's disguises. Klein, on the other hand, was buried in books in the library trying to find out more about Viscount Pound. He found absolutely nothing even though he was researching for 6 hours. He's like, this shit is taking ages. I need someone to do my research for me. He then went home and was greeted by Miss Bodyguard, who told him that her employment period was over. Klein offered to share whatever clues he gets about the Pound family with her, and she accepts it. He asks if he has to contact her through Marek, and she just nods her head before disappearing. He waits a couple of minutes before using Rosago's eye to see if she or anyone else was spying on him, and was glad to know that he's finally on his own again and can go to the Grey Fog world. He traveled to the Grey Fog world with the iron cigar case that housed Rosago's eye and sits down on his seat. He probes at the eye and notes that it seems to be in hibernation mode. Then, a person in a hooded robe appeared across the seat from Klein's. It was another one of his alt accounts that he tried doing previously. Again, remember he tried to create, a person that would be his spokesperson basically without, losing aura to the tarot card members. But the issue that he had from last time that he made this guy was basically that he was moving very, very oddly. But thanks to Rosago's eye, he fixed that, because he used the black tendrils to attach to the SMURF account and move it around like a puppet. He was really happy that it worked and that he can finally participate in the Tarot Club meeting as a normal person and trade ingredients with the others without raising any suspicions. He asked the puppet which tarot card he wishes to draw as the new member, and the puppet answered with the World card. If you know that meme. And you know what? I was like, wait, the World card is actually the last card in the deck of tarot cards, and the Fool is the very first one, so it's literally the beginning and the end here. I was very happy when in the next chapter, Cuttlefish actually pointed it out. Klein was a happy camper and went back to the real world satisfied. He left Rosago's eye in the Grey Fog world because he doesn't really use it all that much anyway. Might as well put it away where it's safe, right? Klein plans to delegate his research about the Pound family over to Audrey. After all, she definitely knows majority of the aristocracy in Backlund. He'll have his Smurf account traded with her. The next day at the gathering, Klein prepared himself and summoned all the members. Audrey was in the middle of greeting him as cheerfully as usual when she noticed a stranger across the room. She asks who that person is and wonders if it's perhaps Force or Sio or maybe even someone else entirely. Klein introduces his Smurf account as the Worldo. They all take a seat and Audrey looks at the Smurf account up and down and analyzes him and concludes that he's a very reserved person who seldom moves and always wears a straight face. She wonders where he's from, if he's from Lowen, Intis, or maybe the City of Silver. Klein tells Audrey that the two candidates she nominated are still under examination and that he wants to give them a simple task as part of the exam. She's free to issue this task under her name. Audrey agrees, since she thinks that it's only fair for the examination to be harder. Klein hands over a portrait of a man and tells her to investigate him. And the person on the portrait? It's freaking Lanivus, that fucker. I almost forgot his existence, man. I forgot that he existed. Seriously. Audrey agrees and thinks that there might be a deeper purpose for this mission because Lanivus looks like an absolute weakling. The World speaks up and asks if it's true that he can trade and issue missions in this gathering. Audrey replies to him that yes, that is so, but please wait until Mr. Fool finished reading. When I saw her replying like that, I was like, damn girl, you're really taking that second in command mantle already, huh? Alger didn't even have a fighting chance. Apropos Alger, he has also been observing the world in silence before handing over the diary pages over to Klein. On one of the pages, we find out about Roselle's children. His third child is called Bornova, and his eldest daughter is Bernadette. She was born when her mother and Roselle were still low sequence beyonders, so she's free to choose whatever path she wants to take. His eldest son wasn't so lucky. He got a small amount of beyonder characteristics and has to follow Roselle's path and can really only make changes once he reached sequence 4. Bornova, on the other hand, showed signs of a sequence 5 beyonder, that of an astromancer. Zaratul visited Roselle in secret to congratulate him about the birth of Bornova. Roselle asked what Bornova would accomplish in the future, but Zaratul didn't answer and only gave a mysterious smile. Roselle asked what would become of his eldest son, Ciel. Zaratul answers him and said that Ciel, he is going to become the Earl of Phantom Hive. He is going to summon a demon butler and they're going to take over the world. And Roselle was like, what? No, I'm kidding. So Zaratul actually said that Ciel was going to die and that might actually be a good thing. It was so vague that Roselle complained about it. And you know what? I bet Roselle also wanted to shake Zaratul and yell at him that, yeah, of course he'll die. We're all going to die at some point. Give me details, Zaratul, you motherfucker. Instead, he asked about his daughter's future because, he is more classy than me. Zaratul said that she'll hate him and turn her back on him and become a very important figure in the mysterious world. Roselle low-key regretted asking that because he's now wondering what would make his precious daughter become like that. Like, will he kill one of her lovers in the future because they're a total loser, not worthy of his baby girl, and that's why she'll hate his guts? But Zaratul isn't a soothsayer, so the divinations that he got might be wrong. Klein moves on to the next page after thinking about how this family will be wrapped up in melodrama, and I'm just wondering if Klein was having war flashbacks to the C-dramas that are popular in China. On the next page, however, Roselle complains that some dude called Florin from the Sauron family wanted him to become his lackey, and Roselle was like, the fuck dude, do I look like a third grade lackey to you? The fuck, man? I'll drag you down from your high horse, you little shit, even if you are saying some very interesting things worth pondering over. Florin told Roselle that the Sauron family is over 2,000 years old, making it even older than the Church of the God of Craftsmanship. He lists the name of families that could rival the Sauron family, such as the Augustus, the Castilla, Antigonus, Zaratul, and the Einhorn family. By the way, Einhorn means unicorn. And if you're to ever meet someone from this family, I do wonder if they have German names. Anyway, he also points out that while Zaratul and the Antigonus families rivaled the Saurons back in the good old days, nowadays that can't be said to be true, because they're now in hiding from the public. So, that was Florin's pitch for Roselle to become his subordinate, and again, Roselle was like, fuck you and 8 generations of your ancestors. But fact of the matter is, Roselle finds that history pretty interesting because if that were true, and the Saurons were that old, that meant that they were around during the 4th epoch, and that epoch is the one known as the Epoch of Gods, where it's said that the deities walked around the earth and mingled with the little people. Because of all of this, the family definitely has a lot of secrets and sealed artifacts that interested Roselle. Klein was very impressed that Roselle even managed to overthrow them, and also thinks that the Sauron family's power was probably waning by the time Roselle arrived and, took over. Klein also wanted to test out Derek's reaction if he knew the Sauron family, because Derek once said that the City of Silver was around for 2,500 years, and he wanted to know if the Sauron family benefited and rose in power after the Cataclysm. On the 3rd page of the diary, Roselle was writing about his appointment as the consul of Intis Republic. He made a new civil code that allowed him to reconcile with the Church of Eternal Blazing Sun. Their relationship was going swell until Roselle claimed the title of Emperor and called himself Caesar. And Loki, is this him foreshadowing his own death? Because apparently he got assassinated, but we don't know why. And here's a theory, guys. I think that his daughter Bernadette is the one that assassinated him. Because, I don't know, it's just, a theory. Because someone Someone would need to be powerful enough and close enough to Roselle for him to let his guard down, right? Then Roselle called Florin a slur because he was showing off again and said that he was the most promising member of his family because he's very similar to his great-great-grandfather. Roselle wonders if there's any reason why he mentioned that, because he didn't find an ounce of talent in Florin. Klein realized that this page was one of the earlier pages because Roselle didn't know about the law of Beyonder characteristics. Apparently, the loot drop that high sequence Beyonders leave behind contains a spirit mark, and people who resembled the original owner the most could avoid negative influences when consuming them, and that this was also how the holy artifacts recognized their masters. Probably. Klein turns to the next page and it's about Roselle enjoying the liberalness in Intis, but also worries that his future wife would be like that too. Then he writes how he participated in that ancient organization's secret gathering again and learned some of their philosophy. Something about people losing some of their individuality bit by bit until they sleep, which is the reason why they try hard to observe and remember themselves. By sleep, do they mean death or godhood? Like, I've read somewhere that Klein started losing himself as the story progresses, and I'm wondering if this is a connection to that. Anyway, this secret organization also believed in the Doomsday Agenda and that the original creator didn't truly die and that he will create a new world and history once he wakes up. And oh my fucking god, why is this similar to the lore for one of the myths in my story? Like, there's a reason why my story is called Dreaming of Aurora. Dog, does Cuttlefish and I share the same brain? Are we functioning in the same wavelength? Or maybe we just really like the same things and have similar taste in fiction, cause this is gonna be a spoiler, guys. But I do have an original creator in my story too, so I don't know how similar their lore is gonna be. But not gonna lie, the original creator in mine is actually called the Divine Creator, and they abandoned the world a long time ago and really won't be appearing actively in the story aside from getting mentioned later on in the lore here and there. So yeah, anyway, because of that, the ancient organization who believes in the original creator hates those who believes in the true creator. And you know what? I really hate the fact that Cuttlefish, or well, the translator, named these two similarly because my brain gets annoyed and confused whenever I read about them. It didn't help with the fact that Klein nicknamed the true creator as the fallen creator, but damn, they could have used a different word for creator, like originator, author, designer. I don't know, man. Does original creator and true creator sound similar in Chinese? This is something that I've been wondering a while because again, they both have the word creator in them. So maybe they do have some similarities, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's written differently so that people don't really confuse them that often. Yeah, so the ancient organization have the second blasphemy slate and the 22 paths of the divine, and Roselle wonders if there are any secrets to these pathways. We find out that Bard, Sailor, Reader, and Secret Suppliant's pathways can be exchanged at sequence 4. Roselle wonders if the manipulator is a high sequence of the spectator pathway. He also wonders what's the deal with all of these secret organizations declaring an apocalypse someday. All this while, Klein was wondering when Roselle was gonna write down the name of the ancient organization he was talking about because what the fuck, Roselle? Can you drop a name, please? Then Klein turned to the last page and it was about Roselle finishing his first card of blasphemy. He plans to scatter them and said that they're insurance for his kids to fall back onto, and aside from his kids, only the fated ones will receive it. So Roselle is being petty and was like, I don't give a fuck if the world is burning down because of these cards of blasphemy because I'll be long dead, guys. Peace out. The 22 sets of the cards are based on the major arcana of the tarot cards, so there were some that doesn't really match the card they represent. We also find out that the Beyonder pathways are paths of the divine and that there is also a secret sequence that's called sequence 0 and each pathway can only have one of them. It's the sequence of a true god, and he names the example of sequence 0 the sun. This implies that there are only 22 gods in Lord of the Mysteries. We know that there are 7 in Lone, and there's some that are in other countries, and also some that that the secret organizations believe in. All the godhoods are probably not occupied, because they had this whole godly war, right? So the sun card is already taken. And I think the Empress card is definitely Earth Mother because of the association with the weeds and the water, and an Empress is also a mother. Death is, well, probably the Death card, and the Primordial Demoness is probably represented by the Devil card. The true creator is the Hanged Man because, well, it's hanging and it's kind of obvious, no? Unless, of course, Cuttlefish doesn't do that because it's way too obvious. The Sage, the one that made old Neil crazy. I forgot, but he was one of the evil gods. I think that he might be the Hermit, and I know that the Evernight Goddess does the tarot card that would best represent her would be the Moon, because obviously, but I think that it doesn't really fit her. I think that the High Priestess fits her more, because the High Priestess is often depicted between a black and white tower with the crescent moon at her feet. And aren't her believers making a crescent moon on their chest whenever they evoke her name? Also, the black and white tower, I feel like it represents day and night, and I don't know, it just vibes with her, you know? And the Lord of Storms also gives me big Emperor vibes. As for the God of Combat, I think he'll be the Chariot. I don't know, guys. I'm just guessing here, and it's all fun and games. Anyways, that's all the chapters we'll be recapping today. A little bit about this artwork. It's a continuation of the previous one, and I will also continue and showcase the finished artwork next week because goddamn, this is taking ages. I know. I've actually worked on this for 10 hours or something already, and it's still not finished. I still have to render Azrael, the one sitting on the chair, and yeah, it's gonna take a while because I also need to do some designs on the side for it so that it doesn't feel so empty, right? Anyway, you guys will probably find the finished artwork next week, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching or listening to me talk about Lord of the Mysteries. Oh, wait. I've almost forgot, but did you guys know that the trailer for Link Click dropped like a couple days ago? Oh my god, I'm so excited. Apparently it's gonna air in August, and during that time I'm thinking of doing my reactions again for Link Click because I freaking love Link Click. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we'll be doing that. I'm still going to try my best to do recaps for Lord of the Mysteries and also do reaction videos on the side with Link Click, but I cannot promise continuing Lord of the Mysteries while I'm working on the Link Click reaction videos because I don't have that much time on my hands, guys. But I will try my best to make sure that I keep up with the schedule of Lord of the Mysteries. This doesn't mean that I'm dropping the series, by the way. It just means that once in a while, probably not post for it, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys next time. Oh, before I go, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. It helps my channel out a lot. My commissions are open and my Vision link is down in the description below. Check out my story Dreaming of Aurora if you have the time. And finally, thanks to my patrons, Robek, Vanarik, and Javalitska for the support. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!